Okay, good morning and welcome to another edition to the Arcadem podcast. Delighted to have both Philip and Christian here as always. Morning lads, nice to see you.
Good morning, thank you.
Morning.
So this week's topic is going to be streaming for iGaming, and obviously this is one of the things that we want to talk about, which is a huge topic on everybody's lips. So obviously today is just about sort of get your reaction, get your thoughts on it as always. So I'm going to dive straight into sort of question one. So how important is it for streaming for sort of iGaming nowadays than it has been in the past?
I would say this streaming is become very important in the iGaming realm at the moment. It came out of the whole affiliation side of the business, and now the streaming is becoming more and more, taking more and more traction away from the affiliate sites. You have to it's a way to show off the games. And players, more and more people are watching the streams. Some streams get up to 100,000 views, 20,000 views. It's very important for both casinos, operators, so to say, and providers like Arcadem to be with the streamers to make sure that the content reaches the audience in such a way that they feel that they're comfortable playing it. Because the streamers do have a lot of trust from the audience, and the audience really do listen to their reviews of the games or their comments that they put out there.
I kind of agree as well, and I've got a kind of controversial point to make as well. So with the players who watch, these streams, some of them are kind of excluded from all casinos because they, unfortunately have a gambling problem, and they turn around, and I've seen them in the chats and say to these streamers, I actually watch your content to stop me from gambling, because it feels like they're experiencing it, but they're not doing anything. And you see that a lot in the comments on YouTube or in the Twitch streams and things of that nature. And again, it's a controversial thing because they are still watching someone gamble. Mm-hmm. But if it helps people stop gambling, as a form of entertainment as well, I think that's a very positive outcome of it as well. Some people may say it's the opposite side, it might encourage these people, but, it's a catch-22 there. But I feel like that's a very good thing to happen as well if people are using it as a tool to help them stop gambling as well.
Yeah, interesting. And I don't think many people see it as that either. I don't think you ever sort of have that sort of other side of it as well, because I think we've spoken so much about sort of both sides of the house. So I think it can also be looked at a very, very positive thing instead of the sort of negativity that sort of sits around it. So next question, I suppose, really as well is the whole streaming is an extremely evolving area. As you say, we've talked about YouTube before, we've talked about Twitch, we've talked about how these streamers are getting the information out there to the general public and their audience itself. But how do you think that sort of constant change between titles and so on and so forth as being streamed right now impacts the likes of the Arcadem games that we're going to be bringing out?
So the streamers would never impact the games that we make. If we do see a streamer play our games, fantastic for us. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of like a free advertisement, and you get to see someone enjoy your game, and it's very rare to see someone play your game as an end user. So for me, it's good just to see that. But it would never impact the game because, we're not targeting streamers. We're targeting players, and we're targeting people who just want to enjoy the content and the story-driven, feeling of our games. But if, something major stood out, if I saw a streamer playing a game and I was like, what, they're right, we need to kind of address this in the future for our next game, then totally, any feedback's appreciated, and if it's something that needs to be changed, of course. But it doesn't twist our, reasoning in terms of the direction we're going. We have a very, very clear direction. We want to be a story-driven content, great graphics, great sounding company, but we always keep this in the forefront of our minds as well.
And I suppose as well, when you're looking at streamers, it's almost for everybody. I'm not just talking for Arcadem, I'm talking for everybody. It's almost a form of marketing with us having to market the game out itself. If we're getting positive reviews by these streamers and they're out there and they're playing the games and they're showing people, what to do and how to do it, as you said at the very beginning, people are taking that on board themselves as they're going into these games and playing them.
It's a way to kind of speak to your player than you used to be able to do, because you can maybe do a promotion with a streamer and you can have someone representing your provider in the chat as well, and it's a kind of way to start a dialogue with the player that you've never had before. It's an interesting dynamic because, don't get me wrong, some players might just go after you and go nuts and say, I never win on your games, blah blah blah. But if you manage it in the right way, you can start building a positive relationship with your audience, which before you couldn't do at all.
Yes, it's becoming more of an entertainment as well, as Philip mentioned before. Like people build up the trust, and people sit there, and it becomes more of a community as well, because you have the comment fields, people chat amongst each other. So I think one of the big things that really drives this area is actually the social aspect of it as well, and the playing the games together with someone else. It's got that whole you being at a casino almost feeling. The land-based casinos, you're interacting with people, and I think that's something that's very important, especially in these times we're at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially now that everyone's working from home, I suppose, people now more than ever want that sort of community feel and connection to other people, especially because they can't just walk in anywhere or play games in front of other people anymore. It's all virtual stuff now.
And there is a massive audience for that social aspect as well, because when I used to work as a customer support agent many years ago now, we used to have bingo products. And in the bingo side is a chat room, and then people sit there, and people, are betting pennies to buy these tickets. And they're just sat there and they're talking to each other, and there's like hundreds of people just having a laugh like they would do in a bingo hall. So I feel like that aspect of gambling is being brought over to this, the social streaming platform. And it's kind of like an offshoot of that, because I've seen it happen before. People enjoy that aspect, and then people are enjoying that aspect again on a new medium. So I think that's something that's going to evolve even more. But I'll be interested to see what direction it goes, especially with all the changes recently in regulations for certain markets.
One of the things that you mentioned just right at the very beginning, Philip, was about obviously Twitch, and obviously there's been an awful lot of press recently about some of the the changes that they're making, and obviously copyright infringement for songs and stuff played on some of these videos and stuff. How does that impact us? And then obviously then again, if you want to talk a little bit once you've answered that question, just regarding sort of the songs that we have as well in some of our games, to give people an idea of that as well. That'd be cool.
With certain providers, it will hamper them, because certain providers have branded games, and those games are branded to professional music groups. And the moment a copyright claim goes against it, that video will be taken down or monetized, and certain people are going to be annoyed the fact there's now adverts in this YouTube video or Twitch video, or the fact that it'll get taken down. So it's kind of like a catch-22 on there. So it depends on certain deals, but what I've seen in the past on games that have been on YouTube that have big wins, for instance, they normally are advertised a lot. They have 10, 20 adverts in some of them. For one YouTuber that I know, he had an hour-long video or an hour-and-a-half long video, and he literally had one 10-second clip of a game, of one of the games that he played out of hundreds, and it literally had 20 adverts in his video, and he doesn't monetize his videos at all. So you can kind of see the impact on YouTube there. On Twitch, I'm not too sure how it's going to impact, because it's very hard to find, because it's a live streaming platform. So I find it's very difficult to see that in a live space. The software, I don't think the software is there. It'd be very difficult. When it's a recorded video and it's put up later on, totally, that's easy to flag and take down or whatever. But I think for the live space, I think it'll be really weird unless they have moderators going around to every single stream. But then it's not just gambling games that are on Twitch. It's video games, people cooking,
totally.
So
it's everything. Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be touch and go for a while, because I think it's going to be a slow process to figure out. I think the biggest change to Twitch, though, is actually in the UK market as well, funnily enough, is the age restrictions. So YouTube allow people to put age restrictions on their video. So it's not affected people who stream on Twitch. But for the UK market and some other markets especially as well, streamers will put warnings on the videos, 18 rated, and it can only be accessed by a mature audience, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't affect children, because we don't want children to, be involved in gambling, of course.
Yeah.
However, on Twitch do not want to put that age gap in. So off the back of that, the UKGC, for instance, issued some regulation that says get streamers to stop streaming your casino kind of on these platforms. And a lot of UK, because Twitch is now for streaming, have moved over to YouTube fully because of this, because they've got that age gate. So I'm not too sure Twitch are ever going to bring this in, but it was kind of a stance they made, because again, Twitch is not gambling. It's a load of stuff. YouTube is the same. But YouTube, there's a lot of content on there, so that's why video games are thin, and I guess it's a more friendly company towards those kind of changes. Twitch is resisted, and we've seen regulation changes off the back of that, especially I guess with COVID now, because a lot of children at home, they've got more access to things like this. So for me, the change should have been there in the first place. I'm not too sure why Twitch went against it, but it's their company, they can make that choice. But YouTube fortunately did that change, and then the streamers, you see that coming over here. As for other markets, they may follow suit. I think Sweden, Denmark will follow suit. Christian is a native Swede, so he'll be able to kind of back me up on that. I'm not too sure.
I'm certain they will. The Swedish government normally follows what UKGC does, or they have their own regulations. We've seen a lot of changes this year, so I'm sure sooner or later they will follow suit, as Philip said. However, we as Arcadem don't see this as any issue for us, because our songs are tailor-made for our games by our production studio that we work closely with. So we will never have any form of copyright issues on YouTube, Twitch, or any other channels, because we actually make sure that we own the full music, and we try to stay away from any form of branding and these copyright rules. So we make sure that we own the copyright or have the full license for the copyright before we release anything.
And we're also setting up a Spotify account soon to feature our game music on there. So if anyone says, try flagging it, like when we're such as, we have the Spotify account with all our music, so our players can, if they really like the music, can listen to it. So we're going to stop, we're not going to claim any copyright on anyone, because, we enjoy people playing our content. We even want people to listen to the music if they want to, because it's separating that experience. So we can still listen to music without gambling on the games. I think that's a positive thing as well. And again, as Christian mentioned, I don't think the copyright thing will ever come forwards at all.
You briefly touched on it regarding sort of YouTube and the whole children aspect of watching these videos. One of the things that I suppose is that YouTube has been under fire recently is regarding the algorithm about selecting certain videos that children can or can't watch. What's your sort of take on that from our side of the house?
So I remember last time YouTube did an algorithm, it didn't go down well at all, and I think they reverted it back, because it's very difficult to have an algorithm designed to stop children looking at content, because they can just search for it. You have to age gate stuff, which YouTube has started doing, but it's still up to the content provider to age gate that. If YouTube sees something that they believe is 18 rated, they'll flag it as that. But again, they have to see that first.
Yeah.
If the algorithm is perfect and it does its job, great. But on the back of things, it started. I remember the last time it happened, it started recommending some really inappropriate stuff to people. For me, it's a catch-22. It could be really good, it could be really bad.
Yeah.
I think it's needed, but again, I just think if a content creator flags it as 18 rated, they can't access it anyway. So I think it's down to the content creator, but it's also down to the operators and the casinos that partner with these people, because they also want to ensure that only 18 rated users are viewing this, and a lot of casinos started enforcing that upon the content creators, which I think is great, because they should, and that's where I think the problem is going to be resolved. As for Twitch, I can't comment really, because unless they do the age gating thing, it's going to be really difficult to do anything. Because don't get me wrong, there's still gambling streaming on there at the moment, because it's just the UK and a few selected markets that have took that stance. Other markets haven't, so I'm not too sure if they're that worried, if that makes sense.
So I suppose final question from me would be, basically every streamer is looking forward to the next big trend, to keep themselves relevant. Is it more platforms, or is it more games? Would you think that what is pretty much down, next in line for streamers to get themselves ahead, where their audience is and what they're actually physically looking at?
It's a tough one here. I don't think it's any make or break for Arcadem. Obviously, there is. It's always nice to have your games showcased on the streamer channels, but we do believe that our games are still being reached by a big audience already. So I think the streamers will be looking more towards partnering up with casinos, as well as they do now with content providers, to push the industry forward. And I think the people who come out with something new, innovative, will always catch the eye of the streamers or of the affiliates or anything marketing related. So I think everything goes hand in hand, how we are doing Arcadem and how Philip is designing the games and the roadmap. To make sure that we have that type of innovation coming, so we will be on their radar, so to say.
I totally agree. It's kind of a part of appealing to that, appealing to that streamer, for instance. But again, all we care really about is the end users and the players enjoying our games. If a streamer picks up the game, fantastic for us. If it's like kind of free marketing, it's great. But we're not against working with some of these streamers directly to offer them, some prizes or some of the cool like posters or anything we have for the games, or cups, or whatever we do. But that's a different topic. Regarding the evolution of streaming, again, I back Christian. What Christian's just said there. It's like any entertainment business. If they provide the right content and the form of entertainment, it doesn't matter what's on the screen for some players. They go for the person. If they enjoy listening to a person, because they may be streaming gambling, but they could be talking about other stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what they're there for. And that's just like kind of background music to them. Because I sometimes listen to people playing video games, which sounds really sad out loud, while I'm cooking.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So it's just because it's kind of background noise. Or you listen to, it's the same with music. When you're working, you listen to some music, it's background noise. So that's a form of entertainment for some people. So I feel like if anyone wants to progress in that side, they have to make it entertaining. Because if they don't, people are just staring at a screen, someone gambling, when they can either A, go gamble themselves, or B, go watch someone else who's more entertaining.
Totally. All right, brilliant, lads. As always, absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for taking the time of getting your opinion. It's always valid. I can't wait for the audience to hear it. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks very much, and look forward to next week's podcast.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.